Hello and welcome to another episode of our highly popular interview series, We Talk Talent, a platform that has been instrumental in shaping future-ready HR practices in India. I'm Pooja Bothra, Associate Editor at ETHRWorld, and today we are privileged to have Amit Vaish, Vice President, Head of Human Capital at Optum India, a key player in the industry. I'm delighted to present Amit Vaish, a distinguished professional who has amassed over 25 years of human resource leadership experience across a wide range of industries in India and Asia Pacific region. In his current capacity at Optum, a United Health Group company, he steers the human capital, collaborating with leadership teams to foster growth and oversee the India operations. As a member of the India leadership team, he is also responsible for supporting the overall transformation of the operations, technology, and shared services entities in India. Prior to Optum, Amit spent close to 16 years in HR leadership roles with brands such as Accenture, Barclays, and more. Without further ado, let's deep dive into the realm of talent management. Amit, please share how your industry is coping with technology adaptations and the changes.
Pooja, first of all, many thanks for having me for this episode of We Talk Talent. It's a pleasure to be with you. So many thanks once again. Really looking forward to this interaction with you. So, in response to your question on changes across the industry, see, the way I'd like to think about it is that the last several years have seen some pretty significant changes or disruption in the world of work, the workforce, and the workplace itself, right? Most people talk about a world pre and post COVID, and the way I see it, some of these changes pretty much cut across industries, and they impact companies, to a lesser or larger extent. In a situation, in a context that may be dependent on the business that they operate around, and some others that are more industry specific changes itself, right? So, to my mind, I think COVID is probably the best example of a change that impacted everyone there. And I think while the challenge of battling the crisis may be a thing of the past, but I think the responsibility of shaping the future of work is upon every organization today. And they must shape this future in a way that is aligned to the context of the business, the workforce, and other considerations that are unique, to every organization. And one such piece of the puzzle in shaping the future of work is hybrid working, which I think everyone acknowledges is very much here to stay. And I think what hybrid has done on the back of technology, of course, is to provide more flexibility to our workforce in terms of being able to manage, their personal and work priorities and become more productive in the process. It has also allowed us access to broader talent pools because you don't need to be necessarily present at the locations where we have a physical presence or come into offices all the time. Um, in particular, leadership talent, right? Where they have personal preferences of being based out of a location, etc. So I think that is invaluable when it comes to sort of just being more flexible in the way that we would attract talent in this post-COVID world. I think what it has also done is enabled our teams in India to come more closer, to become more embedded into our global organization and truly operate as one global team. Another interesting change, I think, is the progressive maturity of global capability centers, the GCCs in India. I think the GCC growth story is pretty well known. I mean, this is a thriving space characterized by new entrants coming in to India to set up their footprint, acquiring new age capabilities in technology and other functional areas. And I think the important thing here is that uh, the progressive maturity of GCCs from purely sort of executing work out of India in a cost effective way to becoming more problem solvers, thought leaders, and strategic partners to their businesses is a very interesting one because in the process of shifting focus, shifting the value creation abilities of their centers in India, everybody in the industry has something to gain. Everybody benefits, by learning from practices through each other there. We have gained tremendously out of that as well. Looking at the experiences, looking at the learnings from others in the local ecosystem. So those are changes which, to my mind, are probably more industry agnostic. Now, coming specifically to our industry, right, which is healthcare services and benefits, I think there are a set of changes that are probably more unique to healthcare. What are some of these? I think we are seeing a much higher demand for healthcare services in the last couple of years, and that is fueling tremendous growth, right? Which is sort of constantly challenging us to make sure that we're at the top of our game in terms of being able to attract the right caliber of talent in the capacity that we need. And how are we being able to do that? I think we have a robust employee value proposition, which reflects our people policies, our business priorities, our approach towards engaging talent, giving them the best experience that a large organization would typically be expected to. And we sort of make sure we go the extra yard to make sure that resonates well with all segments of talent that we want to be talking to. I think it's important also to highlight that in healthcare, particularly, there is significant investments coming in through private equity and other players and mergers and acquisitions, and we are, dealing with several of these in India at the moment, and I think that is also allowing us to expand our footprint and strengthen our teams in India. So I think just to summarize how Optum is dealing with the issue of change in the broader landscape, I think it is through relentless focus on innovation, coming up with transformational solutions, to unique business challenges and issues, and just making sure that we keep talent front and center of all that we have to offer to our enterprise and to our global customers.
Very well said, Amit. So like told us that healthcare sector is on an expansion mode and there is a huge demand. So how are you meeting your talent requirement? So, there is a common consensus that we hear is that certain skills are critical and there is always a war, talent war when you are trying to acquire such skills. And a huge talent paradox does exist in the work world wherein unemployment continues to be a looming problem, plus there are organizations that are not able to fulfill certain job roles because they're not getting talent. So how is it in Optum, how is it in your industry? Do you see a skill shortage? Are you getting enough talent that you want to fulfill your roles?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question and something that we discuss and think through all the time, right? With our business leaders, with our talent acquisition teams, with our global leaders, to come up with innovative solutions that constantly keep us ahead of the curve over there. And I think, most people who talk about skill shortages in certain hard to hire skills, particularly in technology, which are pretty well known, right? And it's no different for us. But really, what I want to call out, Pooja, here is that, I mean, to my mind, the biggest gap that we are seeing from a healthcare perspective in talent is the availability of deep business domain skills, right? We really need people who bring, a deep understanding of healthcare systems there, and then to be able to apply that in a very specific business context over there, right? So whether you are delivering technology products or servicing customers globally, the important thing to sort of keep in mind is that it is done in a very specific context of healthcare systems and processes that are global in nature. And this challenge of acquiring talent that is domain skilled, it becomes even more acute as you go up the ladder, right? To look at progressively more complex roles at leadership levels where availability of such talent is even more constrained over there. So that's, I think, one thing that I do want to call out when we talk about skill shortages or talent supply constraints and so on. So what are we doing about these? I think the first is really looking at a combination of strategies. We have several programs internally that focus on building, internal business acumen by moving our best and deepest experts, subject matter experts, around, different roles, right? So we actively encourage mobility to them to move across different lines of businesses such that they're able to embed their expertise and their resident knowledge, which is acquired over several years of being in the organization across the broader workforce. we make sure that there is a process, there is a framework by which new joiners, freshers who come on board in very large numbers, are actively associated with these experts so that they're able to upskill themselves very quickly. They seek out mentorship opportunities proactively. We have a very robust framework of internal coaches and mentors who are able to sort of provide that business domain and business experience internally to our talents. We ensure that we work more closely with some of our global experts. We leverage our global experts who are based in the US or other locations to be able to partner closely with India-based teams for knowledge transfers, for on-the-job experiences that are invaluable to sort of build that business acumen. And then, of course, we have formal learning programs as well, including site visits, to a number of different centers that would be of help in providing that exposure to talent across levels in the organization and strengthen their business acumen. So there's a whole lot that is we are doing internally, recognizing that availability of domain skilled healthcare talent is fairly limited. Now, having said that, there are other skills that are also supply constrained, and like many other organizations, we find it difficult to attract them in the right numbers, in the right capabilities that our business requires. Right. So, what are these? Cloud engineers. I think first of all, this is an industry challenge across, not unique to healthcare, but from a healthcare perspective, particularly moving applications to the cloud is important because cloud-based applications have the ability to improve user experience. They give more flexibility, they're more cost-effective, they provide better security, right? So I think cloud engineers or architects or developers, they are more in demand, and sometimes it takes longer to bring on board these skills. Data scientists, data engineers. I think the volume of data that we handle out of servicing millions of customers in the US makes it imperative that we have the best of data scientists, right, who understand data modeling, optimization, and how you can possibly add value from a product offering standpoint. And sometimes I think getting those available to us becomes a challenge. I think very interestingly, availability of medical coders, right? These are very specialist skills who have the responsibility of translating a lot of data into specific codes, right? Which then result in payments or registrations or other processes. They enable other processes in the medical value chain. These are not available. We have a very, very large demand for this talent. And what we are trying to do, to make sure that we are not constrained for these resources is to partner with leading universities and colleges and provide certification programs to these freshers who then can be upskilled into coding areas that the business requires, right? And then there are UI UX engineers, right? So this is typically your customer interface, and all of us know the magic of design from personally using Apple and other products, right, which create that wow experience. So I think as you progressively shift towards more digitization in the technology space, you need engineers who can design world-class products and provide a fantastic user experience. So these skills then tend to become more challenging. So this is just an example. I think there are several more, including people who can troubleshoot, problem solve, provide the leadership in the specific business domain that we need. And we have a lot of strategies internally to make sure that our business constantly gets the resources that are required to support our growth demands over there.
Very insightful, Amit. So, when you talk about talent attraction and retention, I know you mentioned, employee value proposition, that you have a robust one, and talent attraction is essentially not that big a challenge for you. But there is also employer branding that's like a tip of the iceberg. So do you think employer branding is just a buzzword, or really, it keeps HR leaders preoccupied to create a strategy of employer branding? So what is your insights around that?
See, I think for us, employer value proposition, employer branding has proved to be extremely useful when it comes to differentiating ourselves in this very competitive talent landscape. Right? I spoke about the overwhelming presence and the growth that the GCCs are seeing in the country at the moment. And there is definitely a war out there to attract quality talent by each of these different players, right? And they all have come with a proposition that appeals to talent in many different ways. We have to therefore constantly be at the top of our game to speak to talent that we want to be engaging with, come up with different strategies. So I think for us, employer branding is a strategic objective, and we have seen good results when we are more targeted, we are more focused as we sort of go out and engage with the talent. So uh, I think what's important to understand, you spoke about, is it a buzzword or is it really a differentiator? I think what's important to understand is when you craft an employee value proposition, it has to necessarily make sense to the target talent segments that we want to be talking to. For us, that is a finite pool of talent out there, right? Just to give you some examples, two-thirds of the population in India currently is below the age of 35, and our average age in the organization is actually below that. So it just suggests that we are a young organization. Our talent needs are predominantly in that segment, right? And these are graduates or engineers who come from a very large number of colleges in the country. They have a specific set of preferences of how they want to see their career progress, how they want to be supported, what kind of policies would help them pursue careers with a particular organization like ours. Right, we want to be going out to attract women professionals in healthcare careers in a big way, right, across the board, to be able to historically correct gender imbalances that our workforce has seen in the past. We want to be partnering with colleges and universities to tap into the over 10 million graduates that come out of these universities and colleges every year in India. And finally, I would say that from a technology standpoint, right, we want to associate ourselves with deep technology talent that has a passion for building products, and products that are transformational, products that are embedded, in the success of the business itself, right? So I think when you look at it from that standpoint, the employee value proposition then starts to sort of make sense. And we have built in several messages, we've built in several examples, we built in proof points, which hopefully resonate with the talent that we want to be sort of talking to. So our EVP is holistic, our employee value proposition is holistic, and some of the things that we aim to achieve out of that are, one, to make careers in healthcare more aspirational. Right, we are part of Optum India is part of United Health Group, which is a Fortune 5 company, and it has the privilege of serving millions of members in the US and other markets. And we want our talent sort of to be on that journey that is mission driven, right? To help people live healthier lives and to make the healthcare system work better for everyone. So I think in that mission that UHG has relentlessly being pursued, we want to make sure that our talent is partnering, contributing, and succeeding, from that journey. Right, we want to make sure that we are a purpose-driven organization. Right, we have a very robust corporate social responsibility, corporate citizenship program, which is really focused on becoming a force for good in India and for India, where we partner with leading NGOs, to look at providing, supporting them in few specific areas. And this has, makes a lot of sense to the younger generation, particularly who are looking to pursue meaningful careers, who are looking to sort of have a voice in the larger community for the benefit of society and communities as a whole. So I think that has helped us tremendously. We are looking to enhance our digital presence because all this group of talent that I mentioned is very active in the digital spaces, and we are constantly looking at ways to make ourselves available, to make ourselves accessible in all the right technology platforms and forums that they are sort of seem to be engaging with. So I think when you look at the employee value proposition journey in that sense, it has helped us to get the right messages across, to make healthcare a more attractive career option to individuals, and finally, I think to get our target talent to appreciate that we care, connect, and we grow together, which is really our EVP.
It's very interesting. Care, connect, and go together. Amit, clearly you have a very young population who are very digitally savvy at your workplace. So, what really helps to create great experiences for them? If you can just share one or two points that have helped or worked for employee engagement and workforce experience, what would it be?
See, to me, I think employee engagement really starts with active listening, right? And this is something that we really ask our leaders to do. Informally in their teams, do it all the while. But formally, we run, an employee experience survey that really touches upon all of the moments that matter across the employee life cycle, and we do this twice a year in a formal sense. But besides, I think just running the surveys, we also do a number of other focus group discussions, a lot of leadership connects, to make sure that our senior leaders in the organization are constantly listening to the voice of these employees. Right, our leadership from other markets globally comes down to visit their teams over here. They always make it a point to have such engagement sessions with their teams out here, listen, get the pulse of the teams on the ground, and then take back insights, actions that would only help to constantly improve the employee experience on the ground, right? So coming out of, I think, these surveys and all of the data that we are able to gather is a set of very concrete actions, which is then taken on by a group of senior leaders in the organization. They are formally vested with the responsibility of creating an action plan that is then tracked over the rest of the year to make sure that we are hitting the right areas as far as employee engagement and experience is concerned. To give you a few specific examples, we have an award-winning program called Live Well, which is really focused on well-being of our large workforce in India, and that covers a number of different facets of well-being, from physical or total health to financial well-being to parental well-being. And within each of these different buckets is a set of program offerings, right? So just to give you an example, I think the space of physical health, right, we have provided access to all of our employees in India to partner with leading health providers for preventive health checkups, for tele consultation, for looking at a very wide network of hospitals and centers in the event of treatment that they or their family members would want to avail of. We have large number of counselors that would provide to them consultation services in a broad range of offerings depending on the needs of the individuals that are there. From a parental standpoint, I think right from the time that a family is expecting a new arrival to the time that the child arrives, I think there are a set of programs that are offered to just make sure that new parents are prepared to handle the parenting responsibilities, managing their work and life, and so on. So I think there's a whole set of offerings under our label umbrella that really differentiate ourselves. This is actually, like I mentioned, it's an award-winning offering. So I think even from a landscape standpoint, it's not something that you'd find a lot of others doing. And we have benefited tremendously from running this and just making sure that our employees benefit, depending on the unique needs that they may have.
Thank you for sharing these insights. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we close today?
I think I'd just like to also mention, Pooja, in closing, that diversity, equity, and inclusion, are important business priorities for us. And our belief is that our workforce should reflect the diversity of the people and communities that we are privileged to partner with. For us, diversity is all about nurturing differences in the workforce. Equity is about providing a level playing field, about making sure that everyone has equal opportunities, and inclusion is about really fostering a sense of belonging in the individuals, right? And for us, I think DI is brought to life in a number of different ways. We have a robust program for DEI across the board, which is targeted at a couple of different things. The first priority, I think, we are consciously trying to focus on from a business standpoint is to increase diversity at leadership levels in our organization. We are also looking to understand the lived experiences of our employees so that we're able to come up with the programs and strategies that improve their experience. I think to the point that I just mentioned about employee experience. And finally, I would say we are very actively focused on educating our leaders, our managers, and employees on what it means to have diverse workforces, how it positively impacts innovation and performance, from a business standpoint, and also hold our senior leaders accountable, for achieving some of our strategic business objectives as far as DI is concerned. So I think this is really important, when we go to the market, when we go and communicate with talent as far as employee value proposition is concerned. And for all these efforts, we have been consistently recognized, by leading forums in the industry. So, for example, we are rated among the best employers for women in India for 6 consecutive years by Avatar. We've been recognized as among the best employers to work for women by ET now, 3 years in a row. So all of these are just recognitions that we received for pursuing our DI objectives.
That's wonderful, Amit. So once again, thank you so much for, letting us interview you and joining the We Talk Talent. This has been really valuable, and you've really contributed to enable learning in the work world and in the HR community with your insights, best practices. So thank you once again. And that's all we have today in this episode of We Talk Talent, viewers. Thank you.